Human rights lawyer, Mr. Femi Falana, has declared that the appointment of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission chairman from the same geopolitical zone is unlawful and against federal character principle. The recently appointed chairman of the EFCC, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, and the ICPC chairman, Professor Bolaji Owasanoye, both from the southwest geopolitical zone.
The senior advocate of Nigeria noted that if the chairman of the EFCC from the northern region, then the chairman of the ICPC should be appointed from the southern region. While condemning President Tinubu's appointment of Olukoyede as EFCC chairman, Falana said Nigeria had the Federal Character Commission Act, and also by virtue of Section 14 of the Constitution, appointments must reflect federal character. Let's delve more into this conversation as we bring in Magaji Mato Ibrahim. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria, and he joins us this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Let's talk about the conversation about the federal character and it being reflected in the appointments made by the president. Now, part of what the learned senior advocate was saying was that the appointment, if one was made from the south, the other should be from the north. And if there were two appointments, or if there were four appointments, two should be made from the south and two should be made from the north. And if there are 6 appointments, it should reflect all geopolitical zones. Is this a position that you agree with, or do you have, certain other observations in this regard?
Well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to also share my opinion on the issue of federal character in Nigeria. It suffices to know that this issue of federal character is an issue that started coming into effect by an act enacted by the National Assembly in 1996. And the whole idea is to ensure the unity and the peaceful coexistence of Nigerians, regardless of their tribes, their religion, their political affiliations, and so on and so forth. Over time, we have seen abuses of this office, and I want to tell you, the learned senior advocate of Nigeria is on all fours. He is right in criticizing the appointment of the two major offices from the same geopolitical zone, because that is the position. Because the law is enacted to make sure that every personality in Nigeria has a test of the government or is being involved and carried along in the setting of the government and in the functional activities of the government. And the whole idea is to give a sense of belonging. If you are ousted from a system, you will probably not be part of the progress of that system, and then maybe you will just be there thinking that you are not part of it, and then you'll be criticizing it, and you will not be happy, you'll be disgusted. So the idea of political appointment should reflect the federal character. And you see, it's not just an enactment of an act, it's a constitutional issue. Of course, he's right. Section 14 is clear about that. And even the act itself was a constitutional evolution, because if you check Section 153 of the Constitution, it permits for the enactment of that law, and even a commission, setting up a commission, that is what we call Federal Character Commission. And the whole essence of it is to make sure there is distribution of powers and wealth across Nigeria and for all Nigerians to benefit, regardless of their prejudices. So he's on all for his rights. I subscribe to his own position too.
Yeah, well, so what do you think, might be going on in today's Nigeria, where these things don't seem to be considered? Federal character doesn't seem to be considered with the appointments of persons in the Tinubu administration. If you look across, majority of the appointments in, across security and other federal parastatals, it seems like most of them are from a certain, ethnic group or certain section of the country. I'm just going to quickly share for our viewers: the Chief of Army Staff, the IGP, Immigration, Customs, CBN, Finance Ministry, Attorney General, Power, Digital Economy, FIRS, it goes on and on. What do you think might be going on?
Now, in Nigeria, we are faced with a monster. And what is the monster? Misleadership. If you look at it, we are in a political era where it is expected that every right thing should be put in place. Unfortunately, over time, God has not been blessing us with leaders who have Nigeria as a whole in the heart. If you look at what has transpired even before Tinubu came on board, you discover that we had that challenge even under the Buhari regime. It could be a payback time by Mr. Ahmed Bola Tinubu, which is not the right thing to do. But unfortunately, the leaders don't see it the way it should be seen. And each time somebody is appointed into power in Nigeria, he has a tendency of arrogating the powers onto himself, not rule the people or the country by under the rule of law. He will take the country and alienate it as a personal property. So it's actually something that will not go well for all Nigerians and even the global society. Because until we understand the differences and take advantage of them by making every single person in Nigeria important, regardless of his tribe. There are major tribes, there are minority tribes. All these come together to constitute Nigeria. So it is a bad sign for leadership. Unfortunately, I am not criticizing him as a president, but I think the policies here are policies we should criticize. So if we keep quiet and don't say anything in respect of this, I think we are also not helping the nation. The growth of the nation can only be assured when there is equality, when there is unity, and when there is self-respect. So if you think because you are in power, whatever it is that concerns you is what you will do, I do not think this will take Nigeria to the greater heights that we expect Nigeria to be. So it is a clarion call for Mr. President to understand that at this stage of life, he's not a president for the Southwest. He's not a president for the South. He's not a president for the North alone. He's a president for the whole Nigeria. And Nigeria, if you look at it, is a cosmopolitan country that constitutes of so many tribes. At least even the last I checked, there is an estimate of over 400 tribes in Nigeria. We have 6 geopolitical zones, which the Constitution recognizes heavily. We also have different religions. At least we have 3 recognized by the Constitution. We don't know, there are some other adherents here and there. So a leader should be able to carry all these differences on his shoulders and make them his own responsibility. Otherwise, we end up having a Nigeria where at every regime of leadership, we have different policies that will be negative to the general growth of Nigeria and the progress of the nation. So it is for us, I think it's a call that Mr. President should sit down, maybe think about it, do what is right, because it is not late to do the right thing. It is not late to put things right in perspective. So it is a call that things should be put right. Otherwise, we'll be heading towards anarchy, which is not good for all of us. Unfortunately, he didn't start it. Buhari did so, and they probably even did worse.
Exactly.
But this is not an excuse for all of us.
I'm glad that you
mentioned of every leader to try to put things right.
I'm glad that you made reference to the past president. You did say that this is a clarion call for the current president to answer, but we know that this is not the first time we're seeing this. Even with the past administration, he had been accused of several actions that violated federal character. Even with the FCC, the executives that were nominated or that were appointed, he was accused of having even taken to court because 2 main characters, I think it would be the FCC executive director and executive secretary, I'm not quite sure now, but there were 2 main leadership positions with the FCC that were from the north, and he was being taken to court for that sometime in 2021. This clarion call that you say this is for the current administration, do you think that anything will be different really from what we saw in the last administration, or is this all just talk that is happening?
No, I believe strongly. The Mr. President now having assumed that office is a very cumbersome office, and it is not easy for a human being to be there and then be part of every happening in the country. And so that is why they created so many offices. They have advisors on political matters, they have advisors on economic matters, and so on and so forth. It is expected that these people should know that they are there to aid Mr. President to do what is right, not that they will be there thinking of their own personal interests and other things. So to me, it will make a difference if only, as the social media is doing its own, the assistants and personal aides of Mr. President should be able, especially on issue of political matters, should be able to draw his attention. Look, Mr. President, this and that. But unfortunately, I think what we're faced with is a situation where you are just appointing stooges who probably would only want to tell Mr. President what he wants to hear, because nobody wants to be seen as telling the truth, because you know it is not easy to tell the truth, and there are always consequences of telling the truth. So this is the only discouragement that probably will pop in our way. Otherwise, it's a clarion call, and things will change, because I expect that Nigerians are listening to this. Those people who are in the helm of affairs are also listening to this. Those people who are close to Mr. President are also listening to this. And it is expected that they should call on his attention. That two right don't make wrongs, two wrongs don't make a right. If something has gone wrong in the past, and Nigerians have decided to put their faith in his hands, he should be able to restore the confidence of Nigerians by carrying everybody along. And he has made that promise severally in most of his campaigns, and even in his acceptance speech when he was sworn in as Mr. President. He agreed that Nigeria is one, and he will carry and promote the oneness of Nigeria. So he should be able to respond to some of these calls, because they are very important to the unity of Nigeria. Otherwise, we will find ourselves in a situation whereby things cannot go well. Leadership in Nigeria cannot change. It is from maybe what the general say, from grace to grass all the time. You know, when this leader comes in, we expect that he's the worst of all leaders, and the next thing he handles the battle of power to another leader, and we are already complaining, celebrating the previous leadership, which it shouldn't be. It is expected that when we are complaining in this regime, the next regime should come and understand what are those areas of concerns and worries of Nigerians. So, let me first address them before I move forward to other programs and agendas.
Well, Mr. Magaji, so from what you've seen, does it seem like the more things change, the more they stay the same? Do you get the feeling that Nigerians are in for another 4 years of almost nothing being different with the way government is run, with the way that, you know, the quality of life that Nigerians live, with the, you know, reduction in the cost of governance and improvement in quality of life generally? Do you have any feeling from what you've seen that this government might do things better and life would be better for Nigerians in the next couple of years?
Yeah, well, to be fair to Mr. President, we have seen some strategic steps that he has taken upon his swearing in as a president. And most of us believe that is the way to go, especially the removal of subsidy and some other policies which he has implemented that at least raised our hope. So to be fair to him, we have seen from the steps taken, unless if he will set back on it. But beyond this, I think the whole issue has to do with the reality in life. You know, until Nigerians get it right from the polls, that is at election, we will continue to have this problem, because where you have a crop of leadership who always pay a lot of money, invest heavily to become leaders, whether we like it or not, even from the common understanding of life, you should know that we will not expect any miracle from such leadership. So until we get it right from the electorates, I think we'll continue to have a crop of leadership that we'll continue to complain about, to be honest. Until the leaders and the electorate get it right from the election, we'll continue to be here. But for now, you know, if you assess a particular regime at the earliest stage, I think they are not even up to half a year. If you assess them here, you may stumble in the future. But from the circumstances surrounding the incoming of this government, I have hope. To my mind, you know, Nigerians might be feeling some of the pains at the moment, but I have the hope and the strong hope that there might be something different from this leadership.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking, you know, and I believe that a government should be able to give you a sense of the way that it would be run right from the initial stages. It doesn't need to make monstrous moves before you can tell that, okay, this government understands what's at stake. And that's the reason I'm asking. If a government, you know, still is, you know, interested in doling out 160 million naira SUVs each to 360 House of Rep members, if a government is still borrowing money to share off as palliatives and give states 2 or 5 billion naira to, you know, just distribute and waste in the guise of giving palliatives to the poor, that for me already sets the tone and gives you an idea that this government doesn't seem to be aware of how much it needs to save more money or use Nigeria's money in a better way. And that's where I'm asking. So that's the foundation of my question. And I want to also react to the conversation around the 160 million naira SUVs for House of Rep members. Is this business as usual? Or should Nigerians also complain?
Of course, it is business as usual. And like I was saying, understanding it from the root will solve a lot of problems. It will be difficult for any sitting president to come in now and undo some of the luxuries of the National Assembly. It will be very difficult and challenging to the president. Because unfortunately, like I said,
we seem to be struggling with Magaji Mato Ibrahim, SAN.
It's the rainy season.
Yes.
It's raining all day, so this is quite understandable.
Yeah, but of course, these are, some of the conversations that we're not just us, Nigerians generally are having. Is this government going to be more nepotistic than the previous government? Is this government going to understand the need to, adhere to federal character with its appointments? Is the government going to even listen to Nigerian people when they say, you seem to be getting it wrong here? Or will they ignore the Nigerian people and keep it moving? Is the government going to continue to expand its cabinet and accommodate more and more and more people, even when Nigerians have said you need to cut down on government spending? Is the government going to understand that buying 160 million SUVs, regardless of whatever procurement process is passing through, is a slap in the face of millions, tens of millions of poor Nigerians who do not have food to eat or a roof over their heads? Is the government going to understand these things, or are they going to just ignore and keep it moving? Is the government going to understand that every single penny that is spent from Nigeria's coffers needs to be accounted for? Or are we going to ignore and keep it moving? These are some of the things that we're having major conversations this morning, and of course mostly also with regards to the appointments that are being made. There's been criticism, if you're just joining us, as to the current administration adhering with federal character in its appointments. Are you appointing people from the same region to cover security agencies and different other federal agencies across the country? Or are you going to understand that people need to be appointed from different parts of the country? The Igbos at some point will also complain that we don't have enough people in the security agencies. We don't have enough Igbo people in many of the federal government ministry, departments, and agencies. And I'm guessing they would be right and fair. It would be fair that they complain, because from what it looks like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of those names there. The only names from the Southeast that are there seem to be those who were simply sent in as part of the way that the system works. Every state needs to send a person from that state to be appointed as minister. Aside that, it doesn't seem like a lot of people from the Southeast have been named in ministerial positions or as heads of different ministry department agencies across the country. But anyway, these are parts of our conversations this morning, and we'll continue to expand on these conversations as time passes. Thanks to Ibrahim Magaji, SAN, for joining us earlier.